All right. Hey, Jeremy, welcome to the episode. I'm really looking forward to have a discussion with you on the topics that we discussed. I know that some of the topics are very exciting, especially the ones which are really capturing the boiler room insights. We know learned through experiments and iterations, and community loves these insights, and this should be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. So before we start off, do you want to talk a little bit about your present role and a bit of your story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently the senior sales manager of the sales development reps here at Dashlane. Dashlane is a password management tool. We're in the firm belief that we can help everybody with cybersecurity. So we're a business to consumer company as well as selling in business to business. That's our side of the organization. And I got into SDR management by working my way through a couple of Series A and seed-based SaaS companies as SDRs and account executives, ultimately understanding that my personal goals are to help other people achieve their personal goals. So by being able to create a solid sales program, enablement, and then moving our SDRs through the program to promotion to account executive are really the things that I cherish the most out of my day-to-day work, and why a lot of the things that we may talk about in the episode today are hopefully going to be helpful to other sales leaders.
Excellent. Yeah. So we'll get on with the question. So I think the first question that we want to discuss is, if you had a billboard and printed one advice for the new SDR, what would that be?
Yeah, I think the billboard would probably say, like, live in the world of discomfort. Um, it's not necessarily what you're currently doing, but it's about what you are going to do next. How are you learning from some of the failures or some of the mistakes that you're making early on? How do you collaborate with your other SDRs who are maybe a little bit more tenured or have some best practices? Do you go back and listen to your gong calls and try to practice some of the things that were preached in perhaps the training that you were given? And do you ask questions that are first, second layer, third layer questions that you're maybe not comfortable with, to be able to think outside the box and to uncover more pain from your prospects? If it's uncomfortable and you feel like you're doing it wrong, you're probably doing it right. So if you're a new SDR, please feel free, get uncomfortable, live in the world of discomfort.
Makes complete sense. Uh, Before we get on to the next question, where we'll probably drill deep into the exact mechanics of the process that you follow. Uh, just to set the context, uh, if you could tell us a little bit, like, are you selling to enterprise, mid market, on SMB? So whatever the playbook that you share, people can take it with the right context.
Yep, absolutely. So the Dashlane product lives within what we like to call the SME, that's small and medium enterprises. Companies typically from 1 to 5,000 employees are sort of our sweet spot customer. So when we talk about some of the quality account lists, when we talk about some of the sequence making, some of the messaging, 5,000 employees and below, typically a quicker sales cycle. We're looking at an average of 30 to 45 days. We do offer also a free trial. So we allow customers and prospects to try our product, get the most out of that short period where you can see the product for free, and then hopefully bring them on board.
Super. Yeah. With that in the context, everything will now can be contextualized. Okay. So the question is, what are your best practices to build a very good account list that SDRs can target?
Yeah. So it's a really interesting question, and I think that it gets talked about a lot. There are a lot of changes that are currently being made to building account lists. There was a previous state of where we were at Dashlane, and there's a current state of where we are at Dashlane. So I'm going to talk about where we are currently. Hopefully, with our tenure and the experience that we have with our sales leaders, we're building a better process. But of course, there's still a lot of experimentation going on. Currently, we don't allow SDRs to have a specific account list or specific book of business where they only get 200 accounts at a certain time. But what we do is we allow a mixture of inbound and outbound leads sent to our SDRs. Those are reinforcing some of the sales methodologies that we use. That will ensure some of the skills that are being developed to prepare them for their next role as an account executive.
Makes
So I'll talk about the inbound leads first. This is sort of a mixture of what we like to call hand raisers. Those are people that are asking for information from Dashlane. On the outbound side, we actually utilize a tool called 6sense for intent data. 6sense is helping us create our account-based leads, showing us who's looking for certain keywords, who's searching for the competition, who's visiting our website, and where in the buying cycle might they be, so that instead of these super cold calls that a lot of SDRs might be used to, these are maybe slightly warmer calls if we've done the right awareness for Dashlane. So when you say like, hey, it's X SDR calling from Dashlane, it's not just a completely, what is that? It's a, okay, you know, I've seen your name, I've seen your company somewhere. And then on the outbound side, we do things like content syndication through affiliate partners. We do lead scoring for nurture campaigns through our marketing team. And then anytime we build new features, we try to do campaigns around that, as well as a close lost, right? Everyone typically comes back, but we can help them come back as well.
Super. So do you guys have some RevOps team which kind of provides a basic list or something of that sort?
We do, and they're really paramount to a lot of the data sets that we're using for SDR success, and as well as a lot of the lead base that we're utilizing from 6sense. So they've been instrumental in implementing these tools and making them successful.
Sure. So the other question that we keep hearing is that finding emails and warming up the domains and so on, is that completely taken by RevOps, or it's like SDRs also have to validate the email and so on?
Yeah, I really think that that's a full company effort. There was a big emphasis in the sales world at the end of 2023 because there were new changes to domains with Google and Yahoo that you were sending your emails from. We are a Google Suite company as well, so we had a little bit of a panic button until we realized like our reputation isn't as bad as we possibly think it is. A lot of our marketing emails also are engaged with on a consistent basis. We don't get a lot of those unsubscribes or take me off of your lists from Dashlane, which is incredible. But this is a full team effort. Both AEs, SDRs, customer success managers all have to warm up their emails and domains if they're new to the company. So we do a little bit of a slow process when it comes to ramping an SDR. We're not going to have them send 1,000 emails on the first day. We'll probably send 50 each day throughout the first week. That way they can build up some of that reputation and hopefully get their way through some of these firewalls or some of these additional security postures that Google and Yahoo are taking.
Are you using any warm-up tool internally, like to?
We're not, until we see that our reputation diminishes closer to like that 1.4, 1.5% that they were looking at, which we're keeping an eye on closely. We're just doing some of the same practices that we've been doing.
Makes sense. And you're using the satellite domain or the main domain for sending emails?
Yeah, it is the main domain.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Super cool. Okay. So we'll move on to the next question, which is, what, according to you, in 2024 as an optimal SDR team structure?
Yeah.
Which essentially means like, do you map it with geo or like mid-market, enterprise, or how do you structure the SDR team?
Yeah, so I first want to say to potentially new SDR managers that are out there, when creating the strategy for your team, it needs to be rooted in data. It can't be rooted in feelings. So we have to look at the budget. We have to look at the performance. We have to look at close rates. We have to look at pipeline generated. And that will allow you to have the numbers to take your best guess, right? Of course, you're going to see things like underperformance, attrition, seasonality, global factors. Like in the US, we're experiencing an election year. So this needs to be more of a fluid conversation with your RevOps and your sales management to make sure that you have the right structure. Now, with that said, what we employ here at Dashlane, we don't currently have segments for specific geographies or verticals. We're really lucky that we have a product that sells throughout the world to any size company. So we don't really want to restrict any certain industries. We would really love to speak to everyone. As far as a ratio is concerned, currently we have a 1.5 SDR ratio to AE. But again, look at your revenue and your pipeline goals. Have you met those in the previous, let's say, 6 quarters to bring a larger sample size? into determining how many people you need to be hiring from the SDR and the AE side. So I don't think that you specifically need to say like, we need this amount of SDRs and this amount of AEs. If you have X amount of pipeline and you have close rates at X percentage, you can work backwards to find the optimal structure. So today, that structure is working for us. I would love to see us hire more SDRs to accelerate some of the new business pipeline and the top of funnel that we're creating. With that said, with the right pipeline numbers today, this structure is working great for us.
Awesome. And how do you think about setting the target number of demos a month for an SDR? I mean, what's your process?
Yeah, I think this is also really hard as well. Like you want to be fair to the business, but you also want to be fair to the SDRs to be able to overachieve their numbers. When it comes to keeping SDRs happy, generally putting a little bit more money into their pockets is a benefit, and they'll buy into the company and they'll buy into the structure that you've created. I believe that 3 outbound meetings per week, and again, I'm not talking about the enterprise sector, I'm talking about the small and medium enterprises that Dashlane sells into, is optimal, especially with all of the tools and the tech stack that we have paid for that's helping us generate all of these leads. I'm going to talk specifically 3 outbound meetings per week. That could include an additional 5 inbound meetings per week based on those business trials, those hand raisers who are coming to us. But a lot of this also is going to depend on how warm are those leads? How much awareness does your company have? How sticky is your product? What are the marketing campaigns looking like currently today? And are we warming those leads up consistently? So since we've been selling our B2B product for the last 6 to 8 years, we have some pretty good brand awareness in our space, and it is very competitive in the password management, identity access management field. If you're a newer company and you don't have as much market presence, right, maybe skew that a little bit lower. If you're a bigger company and you do have more market presence where people know who you are and where you're calling from, maybe skew that a little bit higher.
Got it. So it's like around 10 to 12-ish a month is what?
Correct. Yep.
And what do you expect, like 3 to 4 from those 12 to get converted, which is like a 25% ratio to finally eventually like getting converted?
So we're actually looking at closer to like an 80% acceptance rate into the pipeline for account executives. We don't model it out of any med pick or any BANT structure. This truly is upon feeling from some of the methodologies that we're using. Currently, we're working with Sandler and we're working with the Challenger sale. So if we're reinforcing some of those methodologies and asking the right questions, typically we're seeing a smaller sales cycle from SDR to AE to close. So I think one of the importance, and perhaps we'll touch on it later in this call here, is how effective and efficient are the SDRs working, both from the top of funnel perspective, and then once they're getting those meetings and interest from their prospects. So I'm looking at closer to an 80% acceptance rate into the pipeline for AEs.
And the final close rate would be what? Like, what would make you happy? Like, is it like a final close rate?
Yeah.
What would that be?
Once accepted, 1 out of every 4 leads, 24%, 25%. That's right where we are currently. Of course, as you move up market, you're dealing with larger companies, you're dealing with larger deal sizes. That percentage might come down a little bit, but that also depends on how much pipeline you've generated as an SDR to see, hey, the AE's bucket is pretty full. If they close 25%, like they're going to reach their goals.
Yes, super crisp insights. I love it. Let's move on to the next question. So, according to you, what is the best campaign structure? Again, from 2023, late 2023, 24, what's working? Just take us through like how many emails, call, LinkedIn, and like the personalization template and so on and so forth.
Yep, exactly. So I'm going to call that what Dashlane does and what I've created a little bit of a modified Agogi sequence. For those that are familiar with Sam Nelson and outreach model, it's pretty top heavy at the beginning, and then it sort of tapers off towards the end. We're doing something similar both for cold and warm leads here at Dashlane. We have about a 30-day campaign for cold and warm leads. For the cold leads, it could be a little bit longer. For the warm leads, again, with that trial, depending on what interest they have, it could be a little bit shorter. We're looking at about on the cold side, let's talk about outbound, 7 emails, 8 calls, 2 LinkedIn messages, in that 30-day time span. So think about reaching out to your prospects about 3 times per week. Again, that's going to be a little bit hot and heavy at the beginning, could be more closer to 4 times a week, and then taper off closer to 2 times a week at the end. Of course, some of the statistics that sales has seen is that the connects generally happen between touch points 5 and touch points 12 in the sequence. So if you're getting past touch points 12 and it's tapering off, they haven't responded to your emails, perhaps they're not engaging. If you can see, if you're using a CRM, if they've clicked or they've looked at your emails and you're not connecting, there's one of 2 things potentially wrong. Either there's no interest there, you obviously didn't hit the right notes as far as any pain points, or perhaps you have the wrong quality data information to be able to reach out to that prospect. So that's the structure that we're working on for cold leads. I think as far as personalization is concerned, like there's a lot of noise out on LinkedIn from
This is the
sales.
most requested part.
Yeah,
Personalization. What's working?
absolutely. So I believe that personalization can work. I don't believe it's absolutely necessary. So if you think about your 2x2 or your 3x3, right, that's 2 pieces of information in 2 minutes of your prospects, 3 pieces of information in 3 minutes from your prospect. You can create hyper personalized templates without catering them directly to the person you're reaching out to.
True.
For example, like Dashlane works in the IT space. Our IT leaders probably want to see how we can impact their lives from an IT perspective, not necessarily from a personalization perspective. So, for example, a sales leader may say, I've received 100 LinkedIn in-mails in the last 30 days, and I only responded to 1. And that 1 was because it was hyper-personalized. They looked at the podcast that I was hosted in. They've touched on 3 different things that we're doing with the company. That is where I want to respond and where I want to give my business to. But I think the reality is that like not everybody's selling to sales leaders. So the personalization piece, I think, needs to be A/B tested. The A line is with hyper-personalization. How long does that take? Do you actually see better results as far as reply rates, click rates, open rates are concerned? Or do you do the B test where you just send out, hyper personalized templates with a little bit of modification? And how does that differ as far as your open and reply rates are concerned?
I think one of the most important part that I realize, like talking to so many folks in the industry, is the person with different persona, the personalization has to change. I mean, for sales, what sort of
Yep.
personalization is going to be way different than the IT buyer.
Yep.
In fact, it's very difficult to crack the IT buyer segment because of their nature and so on and so forth. So do you have any specific observation when it comes to IT buyer? Because a lot of people have this question, like it's very difficult to get a response from IT buyer. What would be your 2 cents?
Well, that is the reality that we live in. It's really difficult to get a response from an IT buyer. I mean, unfortunately, they're not necessarily sitting at their computer waiting for your email or waiting for your phone call. So you sort of have to reach them where they are. We book about 80% of our meetings on the outbound side over cold call. And a lot of those cold calls are to their direct lines if we can create that from our lead gen software. With that 20%, I do think that pain points of what the industry is seeing and stroking the ego a little bit of your IT leaders is going to get you a little bit further than just sending sort of a blank template, right? If there's something that they've done that in their industry with their company, or maybe there's a new practice, right, where Dashlane can be the experts in our field, and we can go ahead and educate some of our prospects. That's going to be a key differentiator of where we get some engagement.
This way, can you give us a little like exact some snippet or something that is shareable?
Yeah, absolutely. So Dashlane is currently the leader in passkeys and passwordless campaigns, meaning if you utilize a password manager and you have to log in with your master password, if you go passwordless with Dashlane, you actually don't have to do that. We can do that with biometrics, or we can do that with one of the other factors of authentication. So for us to educate an IT buyer on how to make that easy for their end user, which is ultimately going to save them time, money, headache, peace of mind, security, right? The benefits are endless. We can go ahead and educate them a little bit more. And because we're on the forefront of this new topic, typically we can get a little bit more engagement or interest than one of your blank templates that you might send previously.
What do you say in the cold call just to get them excited, or maybe?
Yeah.
to respond?
I think there's a lot of, again, there's a lot of preference, whether it's a permission-based opener, a time-based opener, you want to bulldoze through to be able to just get some time with people. I like
Maybe for the IT user, let's that's very valuable for the audience.
yeah,
What would you say?
for us, it's time-based, right? Somebody could be in the middle of a project currently, you could reach them at a bad time, but then it's all about how you follow up with them. So saying along the lines of, we work with IT buyers consistently. This is what they're seeing with password management. Do you have 20 to 30 more seconds for us to tell you why we're calling to see if there's any more alignment? I know that that's sort of a typical practice for a lot of the SDRs and a lot of the sales teams out there, but that is what works for us.
Got it. And over the period of the entire campaign, uh, the final call to action is a demo or some sort of a webinar or something of that sort, which is not exactly a sales page, but a slightly above the sales page, which could be like some sort of an info session or something. What is the pitch?
Yes. So our goal is really to get the conversation started, right? The ultimate benefit of getting somebody on a discovery call is to demo them and have them try our product out. So the ultimate call to action is let's get you on a trial, right? The best thing that you can do for Dashlane specifically is to see it firsthand. We can walk you through all of the bits and pieces from, a guided perspective as an account executive, but I think getting somebody on a trial, letting them have the experience is super important for our calls to action.
Got it. Okay. So it's pretty much the discovery call is the final call to action.
Yep, exactly.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah. This is super interesting. Okay. So the next question would be the metrics that you track for your team's performance. What are the things that you keep an eye on? And I mean, it could be sometimes it's like overwhelming. What should be the focus and what can be like, low prior?
Absolutely. So I touched on this a little bit earlier. The main metrics I'm looking at are meetings held, percentage of meetings booked that are accepted, pipeline generated, and then ARR closed from those opportunities.
Yeah.
The latter part of the commission structure for SDRs, like the ARR close, we actually don't compensate our SDRs currently on ARR closed. But what we do want to see is that everybody buying into the success of the company. So highly qualified meetings is really of ultimate value to us as an SDR team and also to our AE team. The activity metrics, I think, are really important for things like change management, right? But that's only if that's needed. So as I mentioned, like I'm a firm believer in efficiency as much as possible. That includes working accounts and inbound leads. If we can produce more with less, that's optimal. So only if I need to look into change management to get either new habits created or get SDRs to do a little bit more activity, will I dabble into the activity metric portion.
Got it. Yes. And can we fairly assume that you guys are at 100K, north of 100K deal size? Like that's where the SDRs.
Correct. We are not correct. Yeah.
You are in the north of 100K.
Correct. We most of our deals as 5 figures.
Got it. All right. Okay. Last question, which is your preferred tech stack for 2024. You can give us some secret tools or anything that you believe is not the known ones, the CRMs and the engagement platform, but something which your team is trying, maybe GPT or something that you
I wish we were doing more experimentation. I really do. But our preferred tech stack is maybe something along the lines of ones that you might have heard of previously. We have a pretty excellent tech stack over here at Dashlane. So we use Salesforce for CRM, Outreach and Sales Loft, of course. Those are going to be super valuable for any of your sales people. I think a lead generation tool is paramount. ZoomInfo, Apollo, Seamless, Lead IQ. Pick your poison. Those are the ones I've used previously. I think they all work exceptionally well. Call recording software, Gong, Chorus, pick your poison again. I think that's really important for SDRs and AEs to go back and listen to their calls. One thing that we employed 2 years ago was an auto dialer through Orem. That's made us extremely efficient so that we can get through 200 calls in a matter of minutes if nobody's picking up the phone. If people are picking up the phone, it's high velocity. We're going to have more conversations than we would have over the course of the day. So I think that auto dialers may be a new piece of technology that people haven't considered yet that is working really, really well for our team. And lastly, intent data, right? 6sense, G2, however you're collecting it. I think it is important to understand who your buyers are, what they're looking at, how they're potentially going to get to you in a consumer conversation or consumer flow. So that's how we use our tech stack. From a data perspective, if you use Salesforce, I'm also going to pitch Tableau. It is unbelievable to be able to collect a lot of data, to decipher it in a very clean manner. One thing that I hope that we do more of that you mentioned, generative AI and sales AI. Like, how do we use things like Gong, who just released a new AI feature, companies like Reggie, who are helping you write personalized emails in a faster manner. I'm really curious about how that's going to turn out this year in the sales world, how people are going to continue to utilize it. So something I'd like to explore if the opportunity presents itself.
Super. But the other technology that we keep hearing a lot about these days is like your champion tracking. So you have a huge base of customers, people change job, and then that could also be a signal. Do you guys track that by any chance?
So we track that through ZoomInfo. We don't track it as closely as we maybe should. IT leaders are typically pretty tenured in their career with
True.
specific companies. They're there for like 5+ years. So we haven't seen too much turnover yet, but we do track that through ZoomInfo. And of course, we want to track any of our current happy customers who happen to transfer jobs to another company. Like, those are going to be our hottest leads, of course, right? If they're happy with Dashlane, they've loved their experience so far. Let's get other folks who at their new company experienced and happy with Dashlane.
True. Do you guys use any sort of deal room, like once a customer is like in the discovery process, there's one intranet site where all documents, everything is one created in under one platform? Do you guys use some sort of?
We just use Confluence through Atlassian and our Google Suite as well. So we're working on ways to become more efficient to make sure that it's all the information is in one place.
Super. Okay, so this is really the last question.
Yeah.
Any trend that you're super bullish in 2024?
AI, right? AI is going to be the wave of the future. I just alluded to it a little bit. I think how it develops is going to be key for everyone, not just for salespeople. So I'm curious to see how that pans out this year. I don't want to make any predictions or make any assumptions here. I just want to see what happens. And once we start riding the wave, like, I hope we ride it to success.
All right, there you go. Thanks a lot for taking time out. It was excellent. A lot of very insightful points, and hopefully community will get a lot out of this discussion. Thanks a lot
Yeah.
for taking time out again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.